Hey everyone, I'm Tirumoli Tenarasu, the presenter for paper number 27. So, our paper title is Bankruptcy Prediction During COVID 19 Using Monte Carlo Simulation Method. So, this paper was written by five members, including myself. In this paper, we use real-time data to examine the impact of COVID-19 economic crisis on business bankruptcies in Malaysia. So bankruptcy have historically tracked closely in business cycles, but this relationship has flipped during COVID-19 crisis. So the objective of this paper is to study the factor of businesses declaring bankruptcy and to investigate the number of bankruptcy during COVID-19 using Monte Carlo simulation method. So as a result, a simulation method model was used to optimize the bankruptcy method's impact on Malaysian businesses. For the past 2 years, the most concerning topic in the world has been coronavirus disease, which is COVID 19. COVID 19 is recently discovered disease in which the coronavirus causes respiratory infection in humans. As the, as the COVID 19 pandemic continues, the disease's negative impact on people's life worsens. The COVID 19 pandemic affects all sectors in Malaysia, including the economic, social sector, and others. There is a greater impact on economical sector where there are work-related issues such as bankruptcies, unemployment, unpaid work, loss of earnings, reduction of working hours in workplace, and more. Bankruptcy is a legal process in which individuals or other entities who are unable to repay their creditors seek relief from some or all of their debts. The COVID 19 pandemic forces the majority of Malaysian businesses to close their doors because they are unable to repay their debts. The figure shows that the number of company bankrupt during COVID-19 pandemic where the graph fluctuate throughout the year. As the pandemic spread around the world, the pandemic's impact on businesses grew dramatically. Companies in Malaysia are on verge of bankruptcy where they are unable to run their businesses normally and earn money to repay their creditors. As a result of this issue, the majority of Malaysian businesses are closing down and declaring bankruptcy. Three main objectives in this paper, which are to determine the factor of businesses declaring bankruptcy, to investigate the number of bankruptcy during COVID-19 using Monte Carlo simulation method, and to determine the performance of the outcome using Monte Carlo simulation method. From 2019 to present, the entire world has been affected by COVID-19 epidemic. Because of the epidemic, most of the industries in the country had to close because they couldn't operate normally. This results in revenue loss and the inability of many businesses to operate. So, this causes a slew of issues for businesses, including bankruptcy. As a result, we choose this problem statement as our group study until we investigated the factor of affecting COVID 19's current income using Monte Carlo simulation method. Based on the previous papers, most of the papers use Monte Carlo simulation method. Monte Carlo simulation are used to represent the probability of various outcomes in a process that is difficult to anticipate due to random variables of intervention. So, we chose to use Monte Carlo simulation because the Monte Carlo simulation may prove to be superior solution by using numerous varied value rather than just replacing the uncertain variable with a single average figure. For the data collection, we took the data of bankruptcy from Census Economic Information Center, which is CEIC. So this is the data. And then we transfer it into the table form. There are five steps to solve a case study using Monte Carlo simulation method. The first There are five steps to solve a case study using Monte Carlo simulation method. The first step is the The first step is establishing a probability distribution for important variables, and the second step is on building a cumulative probability distribution for each variable. Then the third step is to establish an interval of random number for each variable, which is followed by the fourth step, which is generating random number, and the last step is simulating the case study. So table in the left hand side shows that the result from step 1, which is the number of bankruptcy during COVID-19 pandemic and its probability distribution, while the table on the right hand side shows the result from step 2, which is cumulative probabilities for number of bankruptcy during COVID-19 pandemic. So the table on left hand side shows that the result from step 3, which is assignment of random number intervals for number of bankruptcy during COVID-19 pandemic. Table in the left hand side shows the result from step 4, which is the random number with partial numbers. The five steps above, we knew that after we calculated the probability and cumulative probability, we established an interval of random numbers for each variable. Then we generated random numbers. Finally, from simulating the problem, we got the total 10-month demand and average monthly demand for bankruptcy, which is 39 and 3.9 respectively. But the result is contradict with the actual data, where the result from the Monte Carlo simulation method has a lower demand but in the actual data it fluctuates and the number of bankruptcy is also quite high. This is because Monte Carlo simulation method can avoid danger and loss of life. So bankruptcy is also a factor of loss in businesses. Conclusion, the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on Malaysian businesses was significant, with many businesses experiencing revenue losses. This causes businesses to accumulate debts that they are unable to repay on time, a slowdown in their businesses, and an increase in the unemployment rate as some companies are unable to pay their employees. During the pandemic, all of these factors contributed to an increase in the number of corporate bankruptcies. But this paper estimates the number of bankruptcies during COVID-19 using Monte Carlo simulation method, where we can conclude that the demand for corporate bankruptcy is quite low. So the finding shows a relatively low average monthly demand for the number of bankruptcy. This demonstrates that there is a lower demand from businesses to declare bankruptcy. So by using multiple value rather than just replacing the unsettled variable with a single average figure, the Monte Carlo simulation method is easier to demonstrate to be a superior solution. According to the data, the number of bankruptcies during COVID-19 pandemic fluctuate over the course of a year. This demonstrates that despite the fact that pandemic affect the majority of businesses where they were able to pay their debts in other ways. Debtors, for example, may be given the option to pay their debt after a few months by using agreements similar to moratorium plan used by the banks. So companies should also take precautionary measures in the future to avoid bankruptcy in the event of a sudden incident such as COVID-19 pandemic. With a quote from Joseph Borrell, COVID-19 will reshape our world. We don't know yet when the crisis will end, but we can be sure that by the time it does, our world will look very different. So that's all from me. Thank you.